Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Mukesh English. This is Mukesh Soni, and in this video I have brought you the important questions from a famous novella of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. So let's begin it. The first we are going to have a discussion of the short questions which you need to answer in one of the two sentences. Here the question number 1. In which period of American history does the story take place? In which period of American history does the story of Mice and Men take place? It took place during the Great Depression, 1929 to 1930. Name any two important characters from the novella, George Milton and Lennie Small. What does Lennie have in his pocket at the beginning of the novella? He had he has a dead mouse in his pocket at the beginning of the novella. How is George described? George is described as a small, wary, and wily hustler who is quick, his feet and sharp to boot. George travels around the countryside with his childhood companion Lennie, looking for work on ranches and migrant farms across California. Of Mice and Men, John Steinbeck begins the novella by describing. So he begins the novel by describing what? Does he describe mouse, a man, a nature, or a city? So he describes nature. So answer is here. The novella begins with the description of nature. Lennie is George's cousin. Is it a true or false statement? This is a false statement. Lennie is not George's cousin. What is the name of the town from which George and Lennie are fleeing when the story opens? The name of the town is Weed, W-E-E-D. What does George tell Lennie to do if he gets in trouble? As night falls, George tells Lennie that if he encounters any trouble while working at the ranch, he should return to this clearing, the particular place, and hide in the bushes and wait for George to come. Next question number 9. Who is the only man to understand the bond between Lennie and George? That is Candy. Question number 10. When Lennie drops down next to the pool of water as the story opens, what is George's advice to him or to Lennie? George instructs Lennie not to drink too much water nearby pool and not to throw away a dead mouse which he has been carrying in his pockets. 11. What does George say to Lennie before shooting him? George tells Lennie to take off his hat and look across the river while he describes the farm, the dream farm. He tells Lennie about the rabbits and promises that nobody will ever be mean to him again. Lennie says, "Let's do it now." George agrees and he says, "Let's get that place now." He raises Carlson's gun, which he has removed from his jacket, and shoots Lennie in the back of the head. 13. What does Curly wear to set himself apart from the other men? Curly wears a Vaseline-filled work glove on his left hand and high-heeled boots to distinguish himself from the other laborers. Why does Carlson insist on shooting Candy's dog? Carlson complains about Candy's dog as it stinks, so he insists him to shoot the dog. What has George told Lennie about that he always remembers even when he forgets everything? Lennie always remembers that he will be the one to tend to the rabbits on the dream farm. What does he remember? Lennie always remembers that he will be the only one who is going to look after, who is going to tend the rabbits on the dream farmhouse or on the dreamland which they are about to buy. Question number 16. Why does Lennie have a dead mouse in his pocket? Lennie's carrying his dead mouse in his pocket so that he can pet it as they walk, because he loves soft things. He loves to pet the soft things. Why does George say that migrant workers who travel from farm to farm are the loneliest people in the world because they don't have any family, they don't belong anywhere, and they have nothing to look forward to. Why does Carlson suggest shooting Candy's dog? Because Carlson complains about Candy's dog as it stinks, so he suggests shooting Candy's dog. What is the understood question that Lennie wants George to ask Slim? Lennie wants George to ask Slim if Lennie can have one of the puppies as Slim's dog has just delivered. Why does Curly agree not to get Lennie fired for crushing his hand? Because he can avoid the embarrassment that he was beaten by Lennie. Slim is the one who warns Curly that if he gets George and Lennie canned, everybody will find out about his loss and he'll be the laughing stock of the area. Next question. According to Crooks, why does a person need a companion? He says this because if someone does not have anybody to talk to, they will go insane. They require a companion because if nobody is there to talk to them, they will go insane. So a person really requires a companion according to Crooks. What reason does Candy give when he says that they are no longer afraid that Curly's wife will get them fired? Candy insists that she leaves and says proudly that even if she got them fired, they could go off and buy their own place to live. Curly's wife laughs at him, then bitterly complains about her life with Curly. She sums up her situation, admitting that she feels pathetic to want company so desperately that she is willing to talk to the likes of Crooks, Candy, and Lennie. Carlson takes Candy's dog outside and shoots it. Is it a true statement? Yes, this is a true statement. Why does Curly's wife offer to let Lennie curls her hair? Curly's wife asks Lennie why he likes animals so much. Lennie replies that he likes to touch soft things with his fingers. So Curly's wife admits that she likes the same thing and she allows Lennie to curls her hair. How and why does Lennie kill Curly's wife? Cully's wife asks Lennie why he likes animals so much, so Lennie replies that he likes to touch soft things with his fingers. She admits that she also likes the same thing and she allows him to curse her hair. She warns him not to muss it, but he quickly becomes so excited and holds on too tight, frightening her. When she cries out, Lennie panics and clams his strong hands over her mouth to silence her. The more she struggles, the tighter his grips becomes, and he shakes her until her body goes limp. Lennie has broken her neck, and thus Curly's wife is killed by Lennie unknowingly. So this is about the 2 marks questions. Now let's have a discussion for the questions when you need to write the answer minimum in a paragraph. To begin with, how is the theme of dream shown in the novella of Mice and Men? The theme of dreams is introduced at the start of the book through George's description to Lennie of the farm that they hope one day to own together, that they will have a farm, own farm, their own dreamland. They continue to discuss this throughout the text with Candy. Even Candy also becomes involved and make it finally seem possible. This dream is very important to the men, those labors, because it represents freedom and having control over their own lives, which they do not have while moving around looking for work, because they are like a wanderers. They don't work at one place. If they have their own dreamland, they can be their own master. Dreams in Mice and Men are linked to the American dream. This is the idea that in America, it is possible for anyone to achieve success and improve their lives through hard work. This is linked to the United States Declaration of Independence, which states that all men are created equal. For the man on the ranch in the novella of Mice and Men, having dreams gives them some hope that their hard work will be rewarded. Curly's wife also has a dream to be a film star, and although she no longer has any real hope that this could come true, it gives her a distraction from the unhappiness of a life, which is also true of dreams for the other characters. Lennie's death makes his and George's dream impossible. So, as the novel ends, we see that even simple, modest dreams are unattainable in the harsh environment of America during the Great Depression. Next question. Why did Steinbeck choose the title of Mice and Men or justify the title Mice and Men? Steinbeck chose the title of Mice and Men after reading a poem titled 2Mouse, composed by Robert Burns, in which the poet regrets accidentally destroying a mouse nest. The poem resonates with several of Mice and Men's central themes, like the impermanence of home and the harshness of life for the most vulnerable. The struggles of the mouse whose home is destroyed parallels with the struggles of George, Lennie, and other migrant workers whose dreams of purchasing land are destroyed by the trials of the Great Depression. Their own fate is not so different from the poem's mouse or the dead mouse Lennie pulls from his pocket. The characters are destined for destruction beyond their control. Next question. What happened in the town Weed, or why Lennie and George lost the previous job? In the town of Weed, Lennie, a lover of the soft things, he touched a girl's dress and became frightened when she started to squawk and was accused of rape after the girl reported Lennie to the authorities. She accused him that she was about to be raped by this man because he touched her dress. The men of Wheat ran George and Lennie out of the town, and the two escaped by hiding in an irrigation ditch until nightfall. This anecdote foreshadows the death of Curly's wife, which happens as a result of a nearly identical misunderstanding. Because George observes firsthand the misunderstanding in the wheat, he can be sure that Lennie is not guilty of deliberately murdering Curly's wife. Question number 4. How does Steinbeck explore the theme of loneliness? So we have seen the theme of dreams, and another theme is here, the theme of loneliness. The name of the town close to the ranch where the novel is set is Soledad, which translates from Spanish to solitude. So loneliness is immediately established as an important theme in the novel of Mice and Men. Most of the characters on the ranch are lonely. George and Lennie stand out because their friendship means that they are not isolated, as this is very unusual, making some others like Boss also become suspicious of them. Steinbeck shows how the lifestyle that the men lead is very damaging to the relationships, making them lack of compassion for others. The loneliest characters in the book are Candy, Crooks, and Curly's wife. All of these characters are different from the others on the ranch. Candy is older than the others. Crooks is the only black man. Curly's wife is the only woman character. So these factors make the characters isolated, and the men on the ranch show no empathy towards them, instead making them more isolated by treating them very badly. So this is how the theme of loneliness is portrayed in this novel, Mice and Men. Why does Carlson shoot Candy's dog? Carlson shoots Candy's dog because it is old, sick, and no longer able to work as a sheepdog. Carlson is unable to see that the dog still has a value as Candy's friend and companion. This assertion reveals how, in the world of migrant laborers, companionship is so rare and undervalued that many laborers don't even recognize a loving relationship when they do see it. The shooting of Candy's dog is also framed as a merciful act intended to prevent the dog's suffering, which foreshadows George's decision to shoot Lennie rather than let him be imprisoned or tortured by Curly. How does Lennie's puppy die? Like many of Lennie's destructive incidents, his puppy dies because Lennie cannot control his own strength. After sadly staring at the dead puppy for a while, Lennie, sorrowful and confused, he asked loud, "Why do you got to get killed? You're not so little as mice. I didn't bounce you hard." Later, Lennie attempts to explain to Curly's wife how the puppy saying he says he was so little and I was just playing with him and he made like he's gonna bite me and I made like I was gonna smack him and I done it and then he was dead. So both of Lennie's explanations make it clear that while he didn't intend to hurt the puppy, his inability to control his own strength caused the puppy's death. As we know very well that Lennie, he was a very strong person, right? More stronger than George, and he had a habit to pet the soft things. So he petted this puppy so heavily with a lot of strength, and his inability to control his own strength caused his puppy's death. Why does Curly wear a glove on one hand? Curly wears a glove full Vaseline on one hand because, according to Candy, he's keeping that hand soft for his wife. Since farm work is physical and a tough on a person's hands, the Vaseline will prevent at least one of Curly's hands from becoming chapped and rough, something he clearly believes his wife would find undesirable. The choice to wear the Vaseline-filled glove reveals a lot about Curly's character, such as his need to feel superior in strength but also in sexuality. Later in the novella, George refers to the glove once again, saying disgustedly, he says, "Glove full Vaseline? Oh, I bet he's eating raw eggs and writing to the patent medicine houses." During this story's time period of the 1930s, both of these remedies were believed to increase physical and sexual strength in men. So, George makes assumptions about Curly due to his wife's flirty behavior and the glove full of Vaseline. Question number 8. What does Slim do at the ranch? Slim's job at the ranch is a jerkling, skinner, the head mule driver, and the prince of the ranch, capable of driving 10, 16, and even sometimes 20 mules with a single line to the leaders. Aside from Slim's specific job at the ranch, he is looked up to by all, making him a leader in his work and among the men. So there was a gravity in his manner and a quiet so profound that talk, all talk stopped when he spoke. His authority was so great that his word was taken on any subject, be it politics or love. Slim holds on unchanging, respected role at the ranch. So he was well respected person at the ranch. Why do George and Lennie travel together? George and Lennie travel together because they have known each other since they were children and a natural friendship developed over time. George explains the history when he confides in Slim, saying he says, him and me was born in Auburn. I knowed his aunt Clara. She took him in when he was a baby, raised him up. When his aunt Clara died, Lenny just come along with me out working. So got kinda used to each other after a little while. So George explains to Slim that even though Lenny can be a challenge, the friendship and the companionship make life better for both of them. Now we have one question. There are two questions, number 10 and 13, which have the same answer. What dream are George and Lenny working together or toward? Why do you think it's so important? Or describe the dream of George and Lenny for the future. Both the questions have the same answer. And the answer begins, Lenny and George are best friends. Lenny and George are best friends. Just a minute. Yeah. They are best friends. George travels with Lenny and takes care of him because he's mentally handicapped. George and Lenny's dreams for the future is to own their own farm, their own land with lots of rabbits. Lenny dreams of taking care of the rabbits and other animals, and George hopes this dream comes true so that he can lead a better life. Lenny and George dream of owning their own farm and land. Lenny would tend the rabbits and a patch of alfalfa to feed the rabbits. It's important to both men because it represents the independence and freedom that they presently do not enjoy being migrant workers. It represents security and safety also because Lenny wouldn't be open to attacks from the people they encounter, and he would not be put into situations where he would potentially hurt someone because he's a very strong person. Question number 11. How does Lenny kill Curly's wife? Why, and what does he think and do after he kills her? Curly's wife asks Lenny why he likes animals so much. Lenny replies that he likes to touch soft things with his fingers. She admits that she also likes the same thing and she allows Lenny to caress her hair. She warns him not to muss it, but he quickly becomes excited and holds on too tight, frightening her. When she cries out, Lenny panics and clamps his strong hands over her mouth to silence her. The more she struggles, the tighter his grip becomes, and he shakes her until her body goes limp. Lenny has broken her neck, and in this way, Lenny kills Curly's wife because of his inability to control his own strength and emotions. The barn goes still as Lenny realizes what he has done. He tries to bury Curly's wife in the hay, worrying chiefly that George will be angry with him. So, taking the puppy's body with him, he flees towards a meeting place that George designates at the book's opening, the clearing in the woods that George has told in the very beginning that whenever you are in great trouble, you should come here and hide yourself in the bushes. So he goes there and he finds himself quite safe and more secure. Write a note on the relationship between George and Lennie. The historical fiction of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck is about the journey of two friends, George Milton and Lennie Small. The story takes place a few miles south of Soledad at the Salinas River. George and Lennie go to work on a ranch during the Great Depression. Throughout the story, one is able to tell that George and Lennie have a strong strong friendship. Their relationship is very much like a father and son relationship. The bond that George and Lennie have is only separable by death. The novel explores the connection between George and Lennie in depth. One outcome of the friendship is that individuals can rely on each other. So Lennie and George, they rely on each other a lot. Lennie broken, but not us. Why? Because I got you to look after me and you got me to look after you. That's why this is one of the excerpt which shows that they rely on each other. Though Lennie and George rely on each other for different reasons, George relies on Lennie for companionship. George would be lonely without Lennie. Lennie relies on George physically and mentally. He would have a hard time if he didn't have George watching his back. Lennie is constantly getting them into trouble, but doesn't realize what he's doing until it is too late. However, George can usually get them out of the situation by hiding and running away. If George was not there for Lennie, then Lennie would be in jail for something that he does not understand was bad. That was not good. Question number 14. Draw the character sketch of George Milton. That is George. George Milton is one of the protagonists in Of Mice and Men. George is a small, wary, and wily hustler who is quick, his feet, and sharp to boot. George travels around the countryside with his childhood companion Lennie. George has cared for Lennie for years, and though he has increasingly come to see his lumbering, simple mind's companion as a burden, he finds himself incapable of abandoning Lennie and leaving him exposed to the cruelties of the world. At the start of the novella, George and Lennie are on the run after escaping a ranch in a town called Wheat, where Lennie got them into trouble after grabbing the hem of a young woman's dress because he wanted to touch its soft fabric. George is determined to make the next position their last. He wants to save up enough money to buy a spit of land all his own, farm it, and live there with Lennie, free of the responsibilities and indignities of working for a different ranch boss each month. George is clearly weary and resentful on the way he has been living, but doesn't know how to seize his fate and change his circumstances. After arrival on the ranch in Soledad and meeting Candy, an old man who also offers to use the settlement he received for an injury years ago to help George buy some land. George begins to believe that he and Lennie are at last going to be free from the rootless and directionless lifestyle. When Lennie kills the wife of the boss son, Curly, however, George is forced to admit that his dream of a free, plentiful life of his own farm was never going to be reality. And moreover, he must kill Lennie in order to save his companion from an undignified, torturous death, because he himself from suspicion from having aided Lennie in the killing. Proud, crafty, and empathetic in spite of decidedly selfish streak, George Milton is a portrait of man at war with himself, desperate to appear strong, capable, and independent, even as his love for Lennie, his frustration with the worst parts of himself, threaten his ability to survive in a harsh world that is only getting harsher. So these were the paragraph types questions. So now we have the questions which you need to write in a page. Like the questions are here. Describe the setting of the novella. What are the main themes of the novella? Describe the plot. Why does Lennie have a dead mouse in his pocket? And uh, justify the title, why this title has been selected, how the title is an allusion to Robert Burns' poem. How is Lennie different from the other man? Why isn't Curly's wife name ever revealed in the whole play, in the whole novella? What dreams are George and Lennie working toward? Why do you think it's so important? So all these questions answer need to be written in a page. So I would suggest to you, dear friends, please do refer to my previous video, Summary of Mice and Man, and the summary will help you to answer all the questions, because these questions or answers will be quite more lengthier than the previous answers which I have tried to bring in this video. So I would suggest you to answer these questions. Please do watch my previous video, Summary of Mice and Men. And thank you so much for watching this video. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.